Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Director of Football Sabotage with Livorno. So it's been a long, hard summer, plenty of incomings and outgoings. The Director of Football has well and truly decimated, it's a strong word, but he's definitely left our starting 11 wanting a little bit. He's sold two key players. It was for reasonable sums of money. Maybe I would have held out for a little bit more if they were to come in, or I would not have sold them at all. But he has sold them, so we've had to replace them. And yeah, there's been a lot of money going out and coming in. So as you can see, the two key players that have left is Chievo and Moise Vlad-Paul. Moise Vlad-Paul for 46 million, to me, was an absolutely terrible deal on our behalf. There is nobody on his sort of level available for 46 million pounds. But he's been sold to Liverpool. The Director of Football accepted their first bid that came in. It wasn't a case of his contract running out. His contract wasn't running out whatsoever. I think he still had 2 or 3 years left on his deal. But he has left the club. He's joined Liverpool for 46 million pounds. Boo. Who? Chievo was the next one. Wolves like poaching our players, and they bought this guy for 57 million pounds initially. Could rise to 64 depending on, I think it was international appearances. And again, for that sort of money, you're not really getting the exact same sort of player. So just bear that in mind when I show you the sort of players I've signed to replace these guys. He was a fantastic player for us. I think we signed him for relatively cheap as well, £4.3 million 2 seasons ago. But now he's joined Wolves alongside Carpano. So Wolves just like signing our players, I think. But those were the two main players who left the club. Nicolas Solari, who was signed last season, has left the club to join Chievo. What was that for? £5.5 million, potentially rising to 7. He was a decent backup option, but he hated the fact that he wasn't getting first team football here, so he has been wanting to leave for quite a while. Marcel Simcoe's left the club as well. He's joined Genk for £4 million. He was another one who wanted to leave the club, and he only had 1 year left on his deal, so he has gone. Other than that, there has been some loans. Tristan Fick has went out on loan. Ziga has went out on loan once again, this time to Fiorentina. Robin Turlidge went out on loan. Thiago Maciel's went out on loan. Those were the main fee-paying loans. Then obviously a lot of our youngsters have went out on loan also. So that brings us to other incomings, and the first of which is Florian Castrati from Chelsea. He signed on a season-long loan. He is a central midfielder. I basically signed him to replace, what was his face? I forgot his name already. Nicolas Solari. So he's going to be one of our backup central midfielders. He probably, I imagine he's going to want to cancel his loan deal halfway through the season. He is on a rotation basis, so he's got to understand that. But due to some of our signings, it's highly unlikely I'm going to give that boy game time because he's not one of our own. Next up was Igor Kasinic, signed from Solin for £500,000. Just a decent central midfielder for Croatian. He's went out on loan to Hajduk Split, hopefully get him some game time. LCO was next to come in, and now I did initially, when I signed this guy, have the thought that maybe he could replace Moise Vlad-Paul, but it would have been a severe downgrade. So I quickly changed my mind on that. But he is still in the first team squad. He's a decent centre-half for £1.7 million. He's got very, very well-rounded mental stats, slightly too low on the aggression side. His technicals are okay, his physicals are good. But yeah, I think we would have been taking too big of a hit to the first team quality if he was to be our number one centre-back. So I have signed somebody else. Next up after that is probably the best signing of the summer. Just pure down to value for money, and he will be in the first 11. It's Dragoslav Ralovic. He's a Serbian striker. He will be partnering Ponce up top. Mammarella had an incredibly poor season last season, so I did think if somebody was available at a reasonable price, I would bring them in, and Mammarella will become our third choice. And this is the guy who's brought in. He looks absolutely incredible. He's still got plenty of room to grow also, if you're to believe me, assistant manager. But at 20 years old, he's an unbelievable player. So for £2 million, I just could not turn it down. Now, the reason why Tristan Fick has been loaned out was the signing of this guy, Dimitar Vasilev. He's a Bulgarian left-back who can play a left wing-back, and he has been trained to become natural there. And to be honest with you, he is the long-term successor to DeMarco. DeMarco's, I think he's in his 30s now, or he's close to his 30s. So he's not going to be here forever. As you can see, DeMarco's in the blue here. Slightly better attacking stats. Better physical and speed for Vasilev. But yeah, I'll give him as much game time as possible. There's DeMarco at 29 years old. So £5 million, I think, is a good bit of business for a backup player. Next up was Kyle Wright from Celtic. This was a minimum fee release clause we activated at £23 million. So we've sort of really improved the strength of depth of our central midfield. And now Kyle Wright is probably the best of our central midfielders currently anyway. Technically, he's definitely a step above Solossi and Milenkovic, so it'll be between the three of them who actually gets into the first team. I imagine Kyle Wright is going to be one of them. Next up, these were the two big players who we signed to replace Moise Vlad-Paul and Stoichev. Now, these all happened, as you can see here, on the 14th of August. It was very deep into the transfer window, and I didn't want to pay as much as I did for them, but I've had to. There was no other options. I couldn't. There was no way I could tinker around with the transfer market to get some boys in who were at least capable. But these guys, they're a definite downgrade, but they do have the potential. The first of which is Adebayo Zango, was signed from Caen for £35 million. Now, I did go in from him earlier in the transfer window, and they wanted ridiculous money, like £80 million. So I did actually unsettle them a little bit with a continued amount of bids, and then they did finally accept £35 million. So he's a 3-star, 4-star. I think he will improve quite a lot. Hopefully, he will improve quite a lot. But with Moise Vlad-Paul being incredibly reliant on his physicals and his pace, I did want to bring somebody in who was very similar sort of style of centre-half. Mats van der Ende is not the fastest, so getting in a fast centre-back for me was kind of key. As you can see here, they're basically the same player. Zango's a little bit worse with the physical and speed, but a little bit better attacking aerially, mentally. Defending's the same. Vision, pretty negligible, doesn't really matter. But £35 million, did I pay too much? Probably. But I'm happy we actually brought him in. Definitely. And finally, we brought in Patrick, and that will be his name because I'm not even going to attempt to try and pronounce his second name correctly. £46 million. 46. A stupid amount of money. But he is an 18-year-old French wonder kid in that defensive midfielder role. And I think he probably would be one of the best defensive midfielders in the game in 3 years' time, once he starts reaching his potential. But he's a 3-star, 5-star. Technically, he's a little bit limited in the upper stats, but mark and passing, tackling and technique are all okay. Mentally, he's well-rounded. Physically, he's well-rounded. And we'll compare him with Stoichev here. So that's Stoichev. Stoichev is obviously just a better player in general. But I think with him, give him a season or two, he will be able to at least match Stoichev in some certain key aspects. We're never going to replace Stoichev because he is one of the best D-mids in the game with potential to grow also. But our director of football sold him, so we've got to roll with the punches, and Patrick is the guy. Couple of little bit of housekeeping before we'll get into our game today. We are getting a new stadium, so if I don't know if any of you are checking me Twitter, but I did reveal that the board had applied to go for a new stadium. But there was nothing guaranteed. They said it might be a long, drawn-out process, and it hadn't been approved whatsoever, but it has been approved now, and the plans are in place to move there in the summer period in 2029. So in a couple of seasons' time, we'll have a new stadium, 30,999 capacity. We are filling our stadium now, which is a 19,000 all-seater stadium. So we are filling that out. So hopefully, once we move to that new stadium, we could see the increased revenue benefits. Well, so we actually have already played our opening game of the season. It was on transfer deadline day. So rather than live come the opening game, I decided to play through it just in case anything happened towards the back end of that transfer window. So it was a 5-2 away win against Roma. We absolutely dominated them. We were 5-0 up. They did get a couple of late goals through John Munoz. But Kyle Wright scored in his debut, Altaner scored, Zango scored in his debut, Ralovic scored in his debut, and Mats van der Ende got a goal as well. This is on the new patch for Football Manager, and I think it's going to benefit us. Like, I cannot remember us ever having an average rating team like this and scoring this many goals. So hopefully, with the way our tactic is set up, we are going to benefit. At least going forward, it looks like we might benefit a little bit more. It's a little bit premature to be saying things like that, but hopefully so. But in today's game, we are going to be playing Chievo at home. And we'll also do the Champions League group stage draw at the back end of the episode. One key player actually who I didn't mention because he's not a new signing, he is one that's been returned from a couple of seasons on loan, is Alexander Madsen. He has came back in the first team squad after returning from loan. I think he was on loan at Palermo last season. He had a decent season for them, playing 36 games in Serie A. He is returning. He's going to be probably our number one right back. It's going to be between him and Cafagna for the rest of the season. We do still have actually Ivanovic and Belangiuoli. Belangiuoli will probably never leave unless he requests to. Nobody came in for Ivanovic. I did actually offer him out, but nobody was too interested. So Alexander Madsen will be our first choice going forward. And this is going to be the lineup for today's game. Plazari and Van der Ende and Rad. No, it's not Rad. It's Zango. Zango will start at centre-back. Madsen will be the right wing-back. DeMarco, left wing-back. Patrick in the defensive midfield role. Wright and Solossi will play in central midfield. I think Milenkovic is still returning from injury. Altenair at attacking midfield. Ralovic and Ponce leading the line. So they come at us with a 4-3-3. Don't really recognise anyone there to be, apart from Solari, to be an incredible player. But obviously our old boy Solari will probably want to get one over us in today's game. So obviously that initial 5-2 win over Roma fills us with a little bit of confidence going into the rest of this season. I think our first 11 is a little bit weaker than last season with the loss of Stoichev and Moise Vlad-Paul. But I think we've replaced them okay, if not overpaying for some of those players. Alexander Madsen coming in at the right wing back role might be a little bit of an upgrade compared to what we were playing with last season. Zango's back post and he hits the bar. Would have been great. Second goal in 2 games for him. But yeah, so in terms of our first 11, we might be a little bit weaker and we might not be able to hit the heights that we did last season in terms of getting the Europa League final and winning the league. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. Highlight now, Zango picks up a loose pass from the Chievo attack and we can hopefully build something here. Right, back to Patrick. He plays the ball long, but he gives the ball away. Altenair now to Ponce. DeMarco, get a decent ball in. Altenair back to right. We're playing some nice stuff on the edge of the box to keep possession. And there's a lot of space on the right-hand side for Madsen. But Altenair goes for goal and it's just too easy for the keeper. Another highlight now. Free kick deep in their own half. Zalossi's there, back post. The ball's bobbering about. Van der Ende nearly gets in on it, but too many blocks and we're having opportunities. We're having them. Another highlight now. Ponce with a free kick. And he hits the bar. Don't be one of these days, please, football manager. Don't do this to me. Another highlight now. We're throwing deep in Chievo's. Is that a penalty or is it a red card? I have no idea what just happened. Ralovic was brought down after Madsen with a throw-in. And it is a penalty review. Come on, ref. Just give it. You know you want to. Just give the penalty. I hate how long this takes, by the way. Come on. Free kick. Ugh. Why are you showing us? Please go. We don't need penalties. We don't need them whatsoever. Adebayo Zango gets his second goal of the season. Second in 2 games. And what looked like a penalty turned into a free kick, which that somehow ended up over the line. An absolute sea of bodies by Chievo there, but they couldn't keep the ball out. Some heroic defender from Chievo before that, but not for that one. And that brings us to half-time, an absolutely dominating performance by us. But we should probably be a couple of more goals in the lead, not just the one. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the second half. Highlight now, Solari with a free kick for Chievo. He goes close. He wants a goal, that lad, I can tell. Another highlight now, and it looks like Chievo are coming back into this game in the second half. They're currently in possession with Melagioni. And if this guy can push up a little bit, they've got so much space on that right-hand side if they want it. But Ralovic gets a tackle in, but they win it back. Camas on this left-hand side. The ball's finally played in. DeMarco manages to win the header, and hopefully we can break now. Altenair down this left-hand side tries to slip through. Was that Ponce? I think it is Ponce, but couldn't do it. Long ball over the top by them. Van der Ende manages to clear it. What's going on with this highlight? I've never seen something so long. DeMarco on this left-hand side. Get a decent delivery in. Ponce. Ralovic is there. Second goal of the season for him. Second in 2 games. It's not offside, is it? It's not no VAR nonsense. I don't think it is. DeMarco with an absolutely fantastic cross to put it onto a plate at the back post for Ralovic. That centre half should probably do a little bit better in getting the clearance in, but he doesn't. And Ralovic doubles our lead. So with about 25 minutes to go, we are going to save some legs. We'll get Ivanovic on for Madsen at right wing back. And we'll get Kyle Wright off. And we'll get Castrati on as Milenkovic is still recovering from injury. 10 minutes to go, we will make one more change. We'll get Vasilev on for Federico DeMarco, who's had an excellent game, getting 2 assists. Final highlight of the game. This is probably going to be all she wrote. Patrick with the ball in. It's cleared by Chievo. We are a minute over the allotted time. Ponce goes close, but it's not going to be. It is going to be Livorno 2, Chievo 0 for today's game. The referee just wants to stay out on the pitch as long as possible, but there we are, full time. Livorno 2, Chievo 0. Good second win by us for the start of the season. Patrick has unfortunately been injured for 10 days in that game, which is not an ideal sign. Hopefully it's not a sign of things to come, getting little niggly injuries. But we've got about 4 days to go before the Champions League group stage draw, so I'll quickly get to that. So here we are, it is the draw for the Champions League. We are in pot 1 due to winning the league last season, so no more pot 4 drama. We'll see where we are. So we are going to be in Group C. Who's going to join us there? Atletico Madrid. Probably one of the better ones, I would imagine. Red Bull Leipzig would have been nice as well. FC Porto could have caused us issues as they've done in the past. Who's going to be the next team in? Spartak Moscow. We'll take that all day long. Hopefully that this means with Partizan Belgrade finishing up our group, we should qualify this time. You know, the last couple of seasons it's been we're going to have to really play well if we are to qualify. This year we should be qualifying and getting to the Champions League knockouts. So looking forward to the next episode. The fixtures aren't currently loaded in, but it will be the opening game of our Champions League group stage. So I'll see you then. If you have enjoyed today's video, please leave a like, and if you are enjoying my content, get yourself subscribed. But until next time, take it easy.